Let me start with a simple question that I think you will resonate with. Right? How have you ever sat in a meeting room where the loudest person in the room was also the most useless person in the room? Yes, I'm pretty sure you've seen that come across many times in your career, right? And believe me, I'm an introvert, and quite a serious introvert. And it's very difficult for me to voice my opinion in a loud environment because that's not something that I prefer doing. And I remember this clearly. I'll give you an example, right? A few years back, almost 10 years back, I was in a QBR or quarterly business review. And there was this one guy, right? He was like a machine gun, high energy, loud voice, and he threw around these words like synergy, paradigm shift, and he dominated 80% of the airtime. Right, I was sitting there with my notebook, knowing for a fact that this project was more than 2 months behind schedule. But simply because he was loud and because he was confident in the way he was speaking, we had the vice president on that meeting, and even he was nodding along, is happily taking in, eating all that bull crap that was coming out of this loud leader's mind, right? And I remember I walked out of that meeting feeling really small because I thought, man, if that is what leadership looks like, I'm never going to make it, right? I almost felt like I had a defect in me. I thought I had a personality defect because I couldn't or I wouldn't interrupt him. I knew all the facts. I knew it was not really great as a project. As far as projects goes and the timelines around it, it wasn't doing great at all. But if you felt that, right? If you felt like you couldn't interrupt, you couldn't be loud, and it's okay. But today, I'm gonna, I'm gonna tell you something powerful. Based on that situation that I had many years back, I know something today I didn't know then. I know that visibility does not equal volume. If you are an introvert or just someone who likes to think before you speak, you have probably felt this pain. You think you need a personality transplant to get promoted, right? If you felt that, let me know in the comments. In this video, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you that in the introvert's blueprint to the C-suite level leadership. And if you don't know who I am, and if you haven't been to my channel, first thing, please subscribe to my channel. Right? And I'm Rakesh Ravindran. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Ethos Leadership Collective. What I do is I help mid-level and senior level managers move from being invisible to invaluable, and I help them be C-suite ready. When that opportunity comes, my people in my community are ready to take that opportunity at the C-suite level. And if you are wondering what C-suite is, it's CEO, CXO, CFO, CTO, CA. There's so many these days. There's also a chief AI officer. So if you are one of those aspirants and you feel like you don't know what the next step is, I put out videos that can actually change that situation for you. So subscribe and let me know in the comments, if there is any specific area that you'd like me to cover or talk about, and I'll be more than happy to. And if you're tired of being drowned out by the loudest voices in the room, hit that subscribe button, because today we are talking about how to fake being an extrovert, right? I don't mean you need to be faking it all the way. It's just that there are techniques, there are ways you can leverage your strength as an introvert to gain that visibility that you would otherwise have struggled with, right? And we are talking about how to weaponize your silence. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like I said, and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified for every video that I put out. So let's move on, right? The first thing that I will talk about is that we need to kill a myth. The myth is, and I've heard this from a lot of leaders that I speak with, right? A lot of leaders in the mid-level and senior level, where they talk to me about this one myth that I've heard over and over and again. And I want to bust that myth for today, right? The myth is that to be a leader, you have to be the loudest voice. And I'll tell you, folks, this is a lie that corporate culture sells us, right? We see the extroverts schmoozing, laughing loudly and interrupting people, and we think, I need to do that too. If I have to grow in my career, I have to do that too. And It's not in the good way, right? You're thinking, do I have to do that too? Do I have to be like that person? If you're one of those persons, just let me know in the comments, right? But here's how I'll challenge you with that notion, right? Think about the very top people that you know, right? Look at the real CEOs, maybe the CEO in your own company. Usually, CEO isn't the one arguing in the middle of the chaos. Think about it. Think about the best known leaders, Gandhiji, right? Or Nelson Mandela, or, even in today's world, Elon Musk, or Mark Zuckerberg, Satya Nadella, they are all introverts. But aren't they great leaders? Because the CEO is the one watching, listening, and then making the final decision. See, the loud guy, the machine gunner I was talking about earlier, right? He's burning energy trying to prove he is smart. But the true power isn't about proving you are smart. It is about letting the team, the group, that the room that you're in, that everybody is smart, everybody has the same potential. And it is about you being effective. You don't need to change who you are. You just need a different strategy. And I call this the sniper versus the machine gun strategy. The approach is about being a sniper and not the machine gun. Let me tell you a real story from when I was leading an operations team. This is leading about 300 people in operations. And the fact is that that moment changed my entire career. And as with any good story, we start with a crisis, right? So we had this massive error that had happened in one of the teams, and it caused a very important customer of ours to lose a lot of money. It was bad. It was really bad. And we got pulled into this TRT. Or, most people know it's called it's technical recovery team meeting, and this one was especially high stakes meeting. We had senior level, executive level, leaders on that meeting. Tension was through the roof, and there was this one manager panicked, right? He was panicking for 45 minutes, and I'm not kidding, folks. For 45 minutes, he just kept talking. He was blaming others. He was trying to find out whom to blame, who did this, what was the purpose, who was it, the developer, was it the development team, was it the ops team, was it the customer support team, who did that mess, right? So, and the crazy part about the whole thing was that everyone got sucked into that panic. Even the senior leaders were nodding along, arguing whose fault it was. The meeting was scheduled for 1 hour. We only had about 15 minutes left. This guy had taken up 45 minutes of the airtime, and we had solved nothing. We had gotten nowhere in that meeting. I was just sitting there, quiet, listening. I saw the chaos, but I didn't join in. But there was an opening. And usually, if you notice, there's that chaotic meeting, right? There's always this one point when energy's gone, right? So there's a silent moment. And I took that opportunity. I just leaned forward and asked one simple question. I wasn't shouting, I wasn't being loud. I was not in that competition of being who's the loudest. I just said the simple thing. I said, guys, we can argue about whose fault this is, or we can simply go ahead and apply the patch and fix the problem. I looked at the leader in that in that group, the senior most person, and I said, my team can help fix this by 5 p.m. if I have the support from ABC team and they did XYZ things. That's what our customers want, and let's just do that. I looked at him and said that, right? Silence. The room went dead quiet for a few seconds. It felt like an eternity in that moment, but everybody just stopped. Everyone stopped arguing, and then the senior leader in that meeting, he looked at me, pointed at me, and said, Rakesh is right. Let's do that. And that was it. The other guy spoke for 45 minutes and created chaos. I spoke for 30 seconds and created solution. After that meeting, everything changed. Every time we had a crisis, this specific senior executive, or I know that there are others as well, who'd ask for my help. Think about it. Think about it in any chaotic situation, folks, right? Any crisis situation, right? When you imagine yourself sitting around a bunch of people trying to solve a big problem, nobody looks at the person who's panicking or is typing away furiously, running around with the laptop, panicking. Nobody looks at them. Who do you look at when there is that situation? I'll tell you who. You look at the one person who is calm and collected and looks like he's got everything under control. Although it's not necessary that that one person has all the answers. It's not about that, right? This is the person who would wait, right? They would wait and they'll just respond when the time is right and they'll bring the right kind of points. In this case, every single time they'd wait for me to give out my opinion or my update. Why? Think about it, right? Think about it in another analogy. That is a storm happening, right? You wouldn't go running and grab a branch which is flailing around in the storm and it's just moving wildly and looks like it's going to rip apart. Would you? Would you hold on to that for safety? No, you wouldn't. You would go look for something that is grounded, it's well planted, it's unshakable, right? A pole that is just well built and it's stuck, it's calm, it's in its place and it's just absolutely stable. It's planted. It is the same for us in the crisis situation as well. People don't look for the loudest person, they look for the calmest person who seems collected, who has everything under control in up here. That, my friends, is the power of a sniper, right? You wait for your shot and you make it count. Now, the second thing introverts struggle with. It's very popular. I hear that all the time from my introvert friends, right? Politics. You think politics means, hold on. Politics means going into cocktail parties, laughing at bad jokes, complimenting people even if you don't mean it, right? And being life of that party. Believe me, folks, as an introvert, I hate that stuff. It just drains my energy. I cannot do that. But here is a secret, right? Real decisions aren't made at parties. Would you agree with me? It's not done there. It's just conversation. It's just a lot of noise. Real decisions are made where? In one-on-ones. And I call this the shadow influence. If you are an introvert, you're probably great at deep conversations. Am I right? I know that for a fact. So stop trying to work the entire room. Instead, invite a key stakeholder for about 15 minutes for a coffee. Right? Just ask them, can we have a coffee? Just one person or maybe two people who you feel like are the influential ones. Ask them, what is the biggest challenge you have right now? Right? Bring that up in the conversation. Listen to them. Solve that one problem. And if you do that with 3 or 4 key people, you build an alliance. The fact is that you don't need to be the most popular person in the office. You just need to be the most trusted person. Even if you are in a group meeting, a big meeting, high stakes meeting where you want to pitch an idea, right? And you want funding for your project possibly, right? Now, you may not be comfortable and you don't want to try and impress the entire room in one go. Have a conversation with 1 or 2 key stakeholders, right? Your key decision makers. Have one-on-one conversation before that meeting happens. Pitch your idea, take their inputs, make changes if you really have to make those changes, right? And go into that meeting and pitch your idea. Now, you don't have to impress the entire room, right? If you have the buy-in of those 2 or 3 key people in that are present in that meeting room, when you talk about it and when you're pitching your idea, they will vouch for you. They will support you. And that is all you need. The rest of the room just bends over, right? They fold. So that is your true power. So leverage those one-on-ones, leverage the relationships that you build. Now, another thing that I will talk about, and this is one last tip for my introverts friends out there, all of us, we need to figure out what it is that works. I don't know if you've heard about asynchronous authority, right? So let's talk about that. Sometimes in a fast moving meeting, you might freeze up, right? You might not be able to think of a perfect answer right away in that meeting. You might not be the one who is quick on your feet and are able to provide your opinion on your feet. I'm not one of those guys, right? It's really difficult for me to be able to think on my feet and express that. At least it was in the beginning. But then here's the trick, right? It's okay not to be able to do that in the beginning, first of all, right? And introverts, you are usually better writers than speakers. Am I right? Yes? Let me know in the comments, right? Use that. If you didn't speak up in the meeting, send the summary email right after the meeting. Write down 3 things. Here is what we discussed, here is the problem, and here is my recommended solution. Right? Three things. That's all you need. Write When you write it down, you control the narrative. The fact is that in the early days, I had my emails, the emails that I've written, get forwarded all the way up to the executive leadership level. I wasn't even in the room, but my authority in the form of email was in the room. And over time, when I built that muscle to be able to think critically and provide solutions, I was also starting to get my way around how I can think on my feet and present my thoughts in the right way in high stakes meeting. Of course, I still felt that pressure, right? But then I was able to overcome a lot of it and still be able to voice my opinion much better than I would have earlier. So here is my challenge to you, right? First thing, folks, stop trying to be that guy, right? The one who throws the buzzwords, throws around that indiscriminately, starts, being loud, and fills. Stop being the one who fills in every bit of silence. Next time, if there is a chaotic or crisis situation in a meeting that you are in, don't jump in immediately. Sit back, observe, let them run out of ammo. All you have to do is summarize what has happened so far and then put your point of view. And that's it. And when you're ready, right, you take your shot. Be the calmest person in the room. Because the fact is, folks, the world has enough loud leaders. There are extroverts only come up to about 30%. Rest of them are all on the spectrum of being extroverts. Introverts, we are minority. So the world has enough loud leaders. What we are missing in the world is deep leadership. Yeah. And if you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, are you a sniper or are you forced to be a machine gunner at work? I would love to hear your stories. And folks, if there is anything that you would like me to bring up as a conversation, if you want me to talk about any specific scenario or situation, please bring it up and put that in the comments. I'll read them and I'll try and make videos out of that, right? Once again, folks, I'm Rakesh. Stay calm, stay impactful. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.